Hello, I'm Dixon. You may know of us through our fabric collections with Vervain, Fortuny. We work with a lot of different brands that are to the trade only for the most part. We have this collection now with Arterior's Home that we're thrilled about. It's a worldly collection, pastiche of things that I've collected and sort of curated into a collage of pieces that is the debut that you're seeing here, with new things coming for fall too. We've got what we think is a worldly melange of things that don't really know a boundary. We're playing with the concept of crossing boundaries, whether it's that geographic boundary of something that's Eastern versus Western, or African versus Chinese, as well as boundaries of time, something that is period here, something that's a different period there, mixed artfully and layered into a modern home for modern living. We think that's what design is about right now. We've got a lot of things that are also very organic, mixed with things that are a little bit more polished. Our pod mirror, our spore mirror here, for example, which comes not only in this gilded finish, but in a white plaster finish that's a little bit more mid-century French in these plaster finishes, as are these Gemini sconces. Our foliage lamp here, which you may have seen. We've had great coverage with Veranda magazine, with House Beautiful, with Lux magazine, with El Decor, whose editor tweeted that he thought it was one of the most exciting collections he'd seen in years as it was debuting. We were very excited to see Mr. Boudreau say that. We love, too, that this is an attainable line. Arterior's does such a good job of having something appear so expensive and almost unreachable, yet the price point, the ship time, everything makes it something that's very easy to use in your home and for designers to use in the project. We've got a lot of pieces here again that I was saying, whether it's the Asian influence of this column lamp, which also again is in the white finish here but comes in the gold, the mandarin lamp there. This, which is a textured, I got the idea from snail shells on a tree. I used to live in the tropics. Growing up, I lived on every continent where I was at high school, and I think that the fact that we were constantly moving and reinventing our households with many of the things that we were collecting on one continent and taking that to the next, moving from India to Africa to South America. I think that these things influence our way of putting things together. And I think that leads through into the way that we design for our clients and now for these licenses. These tables, for example, here, our anvil tables, are very rustic. They're the other side of that glamorous, sleek, chic play that we were speaking of. They're earthy, they're organic. These are made from repurposed wood. I got the idea from the bases of an anvil, a couple of anvils my grandfather in Tennessee had in his barn, where the guy would come and shoe the horses. And the tops were inspired by cake plates that my grandmother had, and the thought of marrying those things into something that was maybe something we haven't seen before. And yet it's somehow familiar to us too, and something that we might want to put into this modern home. You see the Blanc de Chine version of that same foliage lamp that we saw on the other side that was in that grapefruit peel texture. This is in a smooth, crackled finish. This is the serene, more feminine, garden room, Palm Beach version of that other lamp, which looks a little more masculine. I can imagine the other one in a dark, leather upholstered library and some English manor home. Again, this dichotomy of north-south, east-west, this dichotomy of masculine and feminine, of informal and formal, of organic and sleekly modern. These opposites played against each other, I think, are the tension in the collection and the success of the collection at the end of the day. Behind us over here, there's a screen that I designed that we call the Epicenter screen. I originally designed this, you may have seen it as it ran in Metropolitan Home magazine a couple of years ago, as a front door for a beach house. And the idea where the doorknob on the door went was the epicenter rings like a drop of water on the first raindrop on the surface of a pond, on the surface of water. That epicenter concept evolved into this metal screen that we do for Arteriors that we've also tried to have a lot of uses for. If you mount this on the wall horizontally, it's the width of a king bed and can be used as a king headboard. Vertically, it's the width of a queen bed and can be used as a queen headboard. As a unit, it works either way, just as an art piece above a console behind a sofa, or separated the hinges, it flanks a doorway to an entrance, each side of a sofa with a large art piece or a mirror between. So again, things that people can use their own way. We're not selling a look. We're selling ideas that people can interpolate and interpret their own way in their own homes in a bespoke fashion to create their own interior realities. That's what we're about here. Our Equa series, very modern, very user-friendly, can telescope out when you need surfaces, can collapse when you are having a party and don't need the surfaces, you need the space for people to walk around. We've done in-table, bedside versions, cocktail versions, bench versions, but they all parson out and interact one with the other in myriad ways. And they're still very user-friendly, covered in this fuchsia green and this leather. They're like giant coasters. They won't make rings. You can put your feet up on them. They're indestructible. You see the gilded version of the Mandarin lamp over here. So much more, I think, magically luminous in that tone than the white. A completely different statement. I love the white. If I was doing a beach house, I love this again for the consoles on a rich dining room buffet, rather the surface of the room, an elegant formal dining room in the city, something like that. Also, we decided to do for this floor lamp over here, a floor lamp version of that is of scale and has such a statement about it. I like it best personally paired with a very clean line modern sofa or chair because it's so effusive unto itself. These screens are our Clarksdale screens. They were originally salvaged. I salvaged them from an old church belfry in Mississippi, Clarksdale, Mississippi, so I call it the Clarksdale screen. But it has this wonderful look. When you talk about knowing no border, you put this in a room, put it in front of a window, and the sun comes through and plays these tracery shadow designs all over the floor, almost like a kinetic art installation against walls. I also, this is the width of a twin headboard. I can mount them on the walls and do twin headboards. I can put two together and make that into, again, a king-size headboard or turn it horizontally, and it's a low king headboard mounted that way. We looked at something like this, and we said, some people say it's Moroccan, some people say, no, that's Venetian. Someone else thought it was more Tibetan or more Indian, more Moorish, or someone else says, well, it's like a veranda, a garden, folly. It's all of the above and none of the above. It doesn't belong to one place, and that's why it belongs in this collection, because this collection has a lot of overlay and a lot of possibility about it. Our Stefan table over here, which is reproduced from a garden table I bought directly from Jacques Barange in Paris. He owned this original and had it in his garden in Paris for many years and was selling it, and it has now been reproduced for the line. It's a great table for inside or outside. I just put it in a very formal living room as a foil for all of the formal things that were in the room to deconstruct that formality and make that corner very more approachable. Our Diana horns here are really wonderful, based on old Russian hunting horns. This is also evolving into our fall collection as a wall sconce mounted on a hammered copper escutcheon that I think is going to be really a nice seller too. Our little saber table that's more reminiscent of Gioponti, something more 1940s or 50s. This Ishtar mirror back here, based on one of the fabrics I originally designed for our fabric collection with Vervain, has a wonderful Bargello concept with this embroidered leather on linen and then the nail head trim around it. It has a great light dark Chiricusio. Also has a great masculine quality to it, whereas some of these other mirrors, like I think there's a little bit more of a feminine quality to this fungi mirror over here in the gold, which surprisingly is a true reproduction of an 18th century English antique that I used in a Virginia farmhouse a very few years ago. But I love that it looks so modern and organic. And I love the way that the mirror reflects extra sculptural depth at the periphery of that to make it feel thicker and more substantial in the reflection. Based on an African Zulu milk jug, this lamp is another piece that I lived in Africa. I matriculated from school in Africa as a senior there back many years ago. I won't tell you when. And the original terracotta version of this, that's also a lidded jar in the line, and just a matte terracotta rather than a glazed white here, is another piece that we're selling. I just put it as using it as a cookie jar on a kitchen counter cloth liner. You can take the lid off of the vase portion, which we see on the other side here, and fill it, since it's glazed inside and is impervious to the water, we can use it as a vase as well. A series that we did of these polyhedrons, geometric shapes in different light and dark woods for punctuation You see in these two lamps, this was just singled out for editorial in Lux magazine in the current issue. I love this particular lamp as well as this one. Again, bold, clean line, more modern, architectural. Our chain lamp here has almost a gravity-defying quality, almost like a snake charmer in the Cobra, with this piece of chain just sort of rising, tendriling down to the floor. But again, that sort of industrial earthiness that plays against that with the texture of the shade, I think works really well. Our globe here has a similar sort of industrial quality to it, a little bit Bauhaus, based on a Bauhaus original I bought in Berlin. But we've done this with chalk paint, and it's kind of whimsical that you can actually write on it. It can be a kinetic piece that you keep in your family room with a big bowl of colored chalk that your kids are always playing with and drawing. It's something that the kids can actually draw on and paint on in the room so that they won't be doing it to your walls. Something that's a kinetic piece of art, a functional, fun piece to, I think, bring life to a room. Something that isn't static, but is something that changes constantly within that space. And we do that as a tabletop version as well, that you could just sort of use minus the stand. I actually just put this on a countertop in another kitchen that I was doing a pull-to-pull, very contemporary kitchen, and the housekeeper writes all the things that family needs on there, almost like it's their grocery list. Or someone runs out of something else, need yogurt, whatever, they just write on the orb in the kitchen. We're trying to, again, think of things that maybe people haven't seen exactly that way before. Something that's familiar, but not quite a regurgitated element that we've seen exactly that way before, for them to use as they will to their end in their modern home. Thank you for joining me.